my videos that I upload definitely get a lot of views. Weirdly enough, No Man's Sky 3 years later is still generating thousands and thousands of searches on YouTube for a game that was supposed to be so controversial. It's still getting a lot of buzz. How is that possible, right? What and we got some pretty significant folks here in the chat and on the audio. And Mike, why is this game so attractive now still?
It's that, it's one of the few games, that's why live streamers love live streaming it. I think is you can, there's a lot of games that I tried watching a few my friend plays City Skylines, and watching him play that, it was frustrating to watch him stream it, because I was like, I wouldn't do that. I want to put the road somewhere else. I want to put the city somewhere else. Don't click there. But with No Man's Sky, I can watch someone else play and enjoy every moment of it, because it's a unique adventure that no one else has had. So my opinion means nothing, because it's their own adventure I'm watching. And obviously that's what annoys me a little with Nets. Just the first 30 hours or so is pretty similar with everybody, but after that, and when you really start making your own way in the game, it's unlike any story-driven game out there, and it's not the same thing over and over. Every time someone plays, it's something different, and that's why I think a lot of people like watching the gameplay of it. For a channel like mine that does mostly streams and story, focused stuff, but I think it also has penetrated the YouTube algorithm. Whereas there's that the No Man's Sky has so much weight to it at this point.
I don't know, that he dropped or did he stop?
Because
there it goes.
It's as soon as that,
I wonder if I get to playing and it's the game that causes the chat to go funky. Here, I'll stop playing and just sort of hang out here. There we go. That was to give somebody some nice, pretty footage.
Content, because people haven't seen it.
So the buzz is that it's such a mysterious game to watch, and I mean, how many people do you think? How many people are? I've seen the discourse sort of change with No Man's Sky very oddly over the past couple of years, right? It went from you can't talk about this game without somebody jumping into your mentions or your YouTube comments talking about some kind of cynical motivations for Sean Murray and the team. Why is that different now? I'm seeing so little of that now. Do you think that there's been some level of vindication or some level of proof, even regardless of the launch? Because I know that's a big topic. It always will be a topic to some degree, because some jackhole in the room is going to bring it up and fold their arms and say that it was some kind of personal slight. But how is that turned around? What can y'all tell me what's your feelings on that?
I think it's a accumulation of several things. I think number one, the fact that if we want to go back to the controversy of the launch, you look at Hello Games and how they took a foothold of the launch, where they kind of put their heads in the sand and put their nose to the grindstone and got to work on trying to improve or enhance the game, right? So it's accumulation between the content and the passion that they have for their player base, right? Because they didn't abandon it. They could have, but they didn't. And it was the improvements that made that drew community, it grew the community of players, right? There's probably more people playing the game now than, well, I wouldn't say maybe at the beginning of launch, but when you saw the decline, it escalated and reached really high numbers for sales and everything, and people were streaming the game like crazy on Twitch, and then you could just saw it drop off. It was like a harsh fall, right? But now that trend is going back up, and the stuff that they've added into the game has been diverse enough to draw a lot of different people to play the game. Some people like to trade, some people like to explore, some people like the PvP aspect, some people base building. There's enough, even now, just with Next, there's enough in the game that will pique players' interest. And I think that as they get involved in playing the game and they start listening to different content creators' channels like Legacy Zero or
Hey.
Cobra Sword, right? Or even Ivy Mike or Gaming Mike. You have all these, excellent content creators out there that produce good content for the game, and there's a lot of positive feedback from that. And so people grow an affinity with that, and before you know it, you have a really wonderful, tight-knit community that kind of stands up against the haters out there that want to continue to bash the game for no reason at all.
That's fair. I do. Speaking of piranha, I mentioned that word earlier. That is definitely a thing. When we see somebody sort of talking negatively about the No Man's Sky, like not even, I mean, I don't think we're an unreasonable bunch. But I have seen the piranha go wild on folks that don't particularly have a well-informed opinion from my perspective.